Five friends, Natalie, Ethan, Priya, Lucas, and Sam, are lured by an exclusive invitation to an escape room experience called The Labyrinth. The mysterious game claims to offer a unique and ever-changing challenge that has stumped even the most seasoned players. Excited by the challenge and the promise of a $25,000 cash prize, they eagerly accept. The group arrives at a decrepit warehouse on the outskirts of town, where an unsettling host named Mr. Mercer greets them. He smiles thinly, gesturing toward the door. "Enter, if you dare." As the group steps inside, the door slams shut behind them with a deafening clang. They find themselves in a sterile, metallic room with blank walls and a single digital screen counting down from two both. A voice crackles over the speakers. "Welcome to the labyrinth. Each solution moves you closer to freedom or deeper into the shadows." Their first puzzle is a series of symbols etched into the walls. After piecing together the solution, the walls suddenly begin to move, opening new hallways while sealing others. The group realizes the room itself is alive and watching them. The group enters a new room that looks like a cozy library with shelves full of books. Priya notices that some books emit faint whispers when opened. One whispers, "It's hungry. Don't let it out." Ethan solves a word puzzle etched onto a table, triggering a sudden gust of wind that knocks the books off the shelves. The fireplace flares to life, revealing a hidden passage. As they step through, they hear something crawling behind the walls, following them. The new room is a child's playroom filled with toys, a rocking horse, and an eerie, cracked doll in the corner. The group hesitates, feeling an oppressive presence. The puzzle involves arranging the toys in a specific order based on clues in the room. When Natalie places the last toy, the doll's head snaps toward her, its mouth moving, though no sound comes out. Suddenly, the walls begin to ooze a dark liquid, and shadowy tendrils emerge, grabbing at Lucas. The group narrowly escapes into the next room, but they hear a whispering voice echoing, "You shouldn't have done that." The group stumbles into a room lined with mirrors, but the reflections don't match their movements. In some mirrors, they see versions of themselves screaming silently or lying lifeless. Sam tries to avoid looking, but a reflection of him smashes its own face against the glass. A riddle on the wall challenges them to break only one mirror to find the exit. Priya hesitates, but chooses one that shows a version of herself, holding a key. When the mirror shatters, a cold wind rushes through the room, extinguishing all light except for a faint glow from a new doorway. As they step through, Natalie whispers, "I think we're not solving puzzles. We're releasing something." The new room is a labyrinth of shifting hallways. As they move, the paths change behind them, cutting off their progress. The group starts marking their path with chalk, only to find the markings disappear moments later. Ethan solves a puzzle on the floor, which causes the walls to ripple like water. The group tries to navigate the maze, but Sam vanishes when he turns a corner, leaving only his echoing scream behind. A low, guttural growl reverberates through the walls, urging the others to run. The next room is unlike the others, dark, damp, and reeking of iron. The walls are splattered with what appears to be blood, and faint handprints smear the floor. A single spotlight illuminates a pedestal holding a knife. A note reads, "One must bleed to feed the maze." The group argues about the meaning, but Lucas reluctantly cuts his hand, dripping blood onto the pedestal. The maze quakes, and the growl grows louder. A hidden door opens, but Lucas collapses, his face pale. "It's taking something from us," he murmurs. The group enters a room filled with masks hanging on the walls. Each mask bears the likeness of someone screaming, crying, or pleading. The voice over the intercom whispers, "These are the ones who came before you. They didn't make it. Will you?" Natalie finds her own face among the masks, frozen in terror. A puzzle instructs them to rearrange the masks in chronological order. As they complete the task, the masks begin to wail, and a black fog envelops the room. Lucas disappears into the fog, screaming as the others flee. Only Natalie, Ethan, and Priya remain as they reach the maze's core, a massive, pulsating chamber with tendrils extending from the walls. A final puzzle sits on a pedestal. To stop the maze, feed it your fears. The group realizes they must confront their deepest fears. Ethan steps forward first, confessing his fear of failure. The tendrils lash out, wrapping around him and pulling him into the wall. Priya hesitates but admits her fear of being alone. She vanishes into the darkness, leaving Natalie alone. The maze whispers to Natalie, "You can end it, or you can join them." Natalie solves the puzzle, revealing a hidden knife. The maze whispers, "The price of freedom is your sacrifice. Will you pay it?" Realizing the maze feeds on pain and fear, Natalie plunges the knife into her chest, collapsing onto the floor. The maze begins to crumble, its tendrils retracting. Moments later, Natalie awakens outside the warehouse, alone. She discovers a newspaper clipping in her pocket with the headline, "Missing Persons Found After 2 Years in Maze." Beneath it, a faint whisper echoes, "You freed them, but the maze still hungers." Seven strangers, Isla, Jonah, Riley, Grace, Max, Zoe, and Ethan, receive mysterious invitations to an exclusive escape room called The Final Game. The invitation promises a cash prize of $100,000 for the winner, but with a cryptic warning, only one will make it to the end. Eager for the reward, they arrive at an abandoned warehouse late at night. The host, a masked figure called the Keeper, greets them and lays out the rules. Solve the puzzles to progress, but failure has consequences. Before anyone can question further, the first door slams shut, trapping them inside. The group enters a dimly lit room filled with strange props, bloody knives, torn clothing, and broken furniture. A puzzle on the wall challenges them to find hidden keys to unlock the next door. As they search, Isla notices a blood-stained jacket in the corner, tagged with a name, Michael Stevens. She recognizes the name from a news report about a recent murder. Uneasy, she tells Jonah, who brushes it off as a scare tactic. The group finds the keys and unlocks the door, but the lights flicker and a robotic voice announces, "One must leave." The floor opens beneath Riley, who screams as he disappears into the darkness below. Shaken, the group moves to the next room, which resembles a forensic lab. Max finds a file detailing a gruesome murder. The props in the room, bloody gloves, a saw, and rope, match the evidence described. Zoe uncovers a hidden panel with photographs of crime scenes, each one eerily similar to the props in the previous room. The realization hits them. The items are real, used in actual crimes. As they solve another puzzle, the lights dim again, and the voice declares, "Another must leave." Grace, frozen with fear, is dragged screaming through a hidden door as the others watch helplessly. The group enters a room designed like a courtroom. A puzzle on the wall challenges them to identify the guilty. The players must match names to crimes, all involving the props they've seen. Isla realizes the names are those of past escape room participants. Ethan accuses Max of withholding information, and tensions rise as suspicion spreads. When the puzzle is solved, the voice returns, "You decided wrong. The guilty remain." A trapdoor opens beneath Zoe and she falls, leaving the others in stunned silence. The next room is the most horrifying yet, a blood-spattered chamber with human remains encased in glass. The group is forced to complete a macabre puzzle, assembling a skeleton from dismembered body parts found around the room. As they finish, the skeleton animates briefly, its jaw snapping open and closed. Jonah panics, shouting that they need to quit, but the door seals behind them. The voice announces, "Survival requires sacrifice." Ethan, trying to flee, triggers a trap, and blades descend from the ceiling, cutting him down. The remaining three, Isla, Jonah, and Max, enter a room that looks like a police interrogation chamber. A recording plays, revealing that each player was specifically chosen for this game because of their past. Max's secret comes to light. He was involved in a hit-and-run that left someone dead. The room's puzzle forces the players to confess their own darkest secrets to unlock the next door. Jonah refuses, claiming he has nothing to hide, but the room begins filling with water. Under pressure, he admits to framing a coworker for embezzlement. The door opens, but Max collapses, clutching his chest. "One less to move forward," the voice declares. Isla and Jonah reach a room filled with screens showing live footage of the escape room's earlier events. One screen shows Zoe's lifeless body, another shows Grace screaming in a dark cell. A message flashes on the screens. The game ends when only one remains. Jonah suggests they work together to find a way out, but Isla begins to doubt his sincerity. The puzzle in the room involves deciphering a series of codes, with each wrong answer causing painful electric shocks. Jonah solves the final code, but before Isla can react, a dart shoots out of the wall, striking him. He collapses, unconscious. Isla enters the penultimate room where the keeper waits, their mask gleaming under the dim lights. They reveal the true purpose of the game. You are all part of a crime. Each of you contributed to someone's suffering, whether directly or indirectly. This was justice. The keeper explains that the props were indeed used in crimes connected to the player's actions, whether through negligence, malice, or cowardice. The last survivor will carry the weight of this truth forever. The final room contains a single console with a glowing keypad. A timer counts down from 10. A screen displays a code, but the numbers keep changing. The voice taunts, "Enter the final code to escape, fail, and you'll join the forgotten." Isla frantically works to decode the puzzle, realizing the numbers correspond to dates in her past. The timer reaches 0 just as Isla inputs the last number. The screen flashes, "Code accepted." The door creaks open, but Isla hesitates, hearing faint whispers behind her. Isla steps into the night, the warehouse collapsing behind her. She clutches an envelope containing the promised $100,000. But as she walks away, her phone buzzes with a message. "You are the keeper now. Welcome to the game." Her reflection in a nearby window shows her wearing the keeper's mask, and the whispers grow louder. The story ends with Isla dropping the envelope, realizing she has become part of a never-ending cycle. Five strangers, Noah, Emily, Grace, Liam, and Ava, receive invitations to an escape room experience called The Experiment. The invitation promises $10,000 for participants who can solve a chilling murder mystery within 72 hours. Each of them has their own reasons for accepting: financial struggles, a love for puzzles, or simple curiosity. They arrive at an abandoned mansion late at night, greeted by a cold and calculating man named Dr. Elias. His parting words before locking the door behind them are chilling. "Welcome to the experiment. Uncover the truth, or become part of it." The first room is a replica of a 1980s study, complete with a blood-stained carpet, overturned furniture, and scattered documents. The group is given a file on the victim, Dr. Catherine Ward, a renowned psychologist who went missing during a controversial experiment. As the group begins piecing together the clues, Grace finds a diary entry mentioning the five. To their surprise, the diary entry describes their current group dynamic, though they have never met before. Suspicion starts to grow among the group. The next room contains a series of logic puzzles involving old lab equipment. Solving them reveals footage of Dr. Ward speaking. This experiment will push the limits of the human mind, but some truths are too dangerous to reveal. As they progress, they notice eerie details. Noah finds a file with his name on it, and Emily discovers a childhood photo of herself among the scattered evidence. Panic begins to set in as they realize they might not be here by chance. The group enters a new room resembling a laboratory, where a recorded voice plays on repeat. Day 7 of the experiment. Subject cohesion is deteriorating. Trust is eroding. The group learns that Dr. Ward's experiment was about psychological manipulation, and participants were pushed to their limits. The door to the next room won't open until they complete a morality test, which pits them against one another. Tensions boil over as they argue about who is holding the group back. The puzzles grow more personal. A riddle unlocks a cabinet containing files that reveal dark secrets about each of them. Liam was fired for theft, Grace abandoned her sister during a crisis, and Ava lied about her identity to join the game. As mistrust spreads, the group begins turning on one another. Liam accuses Emily of knowing more than she lets on. Emily defends herself, but the seeds of doubt are firmly planted. The group reaches a room with a single chair under a spotlight. A note reads, "Only one may proceed. Choose wisely." A hidden timer begins ticking down. Arguments turn violent as Liam and Noah nearly come to blows. Emily reluctantly volunteers to stay behind, claiming she doesn't trust herself to continue. As the door unlocks for the others, Emily's scream echoes behind them. Dr. Elias's voice crackles over the speakers. "Your choices define you. How many will you sacrifice to survive?" The remaining 4 enter a room filled with photographs and handwritten notes. They discover that the experiment wasn't just about Dr. Ward's disappearance. It's about them. Each of them has a connection to her. Noah's father was one of her patients. Grace once attended one of her lectures. Ava worked briefly as her assistant. Liam discovers his estranged brother was part of the original experiment. The revelation shakes them, making them question their roles in the mystery. As they solve another set of puzzles, they find a recording revealing that Dr. Ward suspected one of her colleagues of sabotaging her experiment. A hidden note warns, "The killer may already be among you." Liam grows increasingly paranoid, accusing Ava of being part of the setup. The tension explodes into chaos when a hidden trap activates, injuring Grace. She pleads with the group not to leave her behind, but the others press forward, leaving her in the room as the door seals shut. Noah, Liam, and Ava reach the final room, where they find a blood-stained mannequin lying on a metal table, representing Dr. Ward. Surrounding the room are photos and files that reveal the experiment was never about solving a murder. It was about observing how far they'd go to survive. Dr. Elias's voice returns. "You've solved the mystery. You were the experiment all along." The group realizes they've been manipulated into betraying one another, mirroring the psychological breakdown of Dr. Ward's original study. A final puzzle appears on a screen. Only one may leave. Decide now. The group hesitates, but as the timer ticks down, Liam lunges for a hidden weapon. Noah defends himself, and Ava watches in horror as the two struggle. When the timer reaches 0, the door unlocks. Ava, the sole survivor, steps out into the night, only to find Dr. Elias waiting for her. He smiles and hands her an envelope containing the promised $10,000. "You passed," he says. "The experiment is complete." As Ava walks away, the warehouse lights go out. Inside, Dr. Elias mutters to himself, "Let's see who's next." A group of 5 friends, Claire, Jake, Mia, Dylan, and Sarah, receive cryptic invitations to try out a new escape room called The Vault. The invite promises an immersive experience with a prize of $10,000 for anyone who completes it. Drawn by the money and the thrill, the group arrives at a secluded, nondescript building in the outskirts of town. Inside, a soft-spoken host named Mr. Graves explains the rules. Solve the puzzles and escape within 2 hours. The team is led into a dimly lit, industrial-themed room with pipes running along the walls and ominous red lighting. Cameras are visibly mounted in the corners, with a loudspeaker occasionally crackling to life. The door slams shut behind them with an unsettling finality. "You're being watched," a robotic voice announces. The team starts solving basic puzzles, a combination lock, a hidden key, and a cipher. The group feels a surge of confidence until Mia spots something strange. In a mirror across the room, their reflections aren't moving in sync. Instead, the footage shows them doing things they aren't actually doing. In one reflection, Claire is seen pacing the room frantically, though in reality, she's still. As they move to the next room, Jake notices that one of the cameras follows him, moving slightly even when he stands still. Meanwhile, Sarah finds a pair of shoes under a desk that aren't hers. They're old, worn, and slightly damp. A sinking realization hits. Someone else has been here before. Unease spreads, but they push forward, telling themselves it's all part of the immersive experience. The puzzles grow harder and eerier. One requires them to arrange mannequin limbs into unnatural positions. Another demands they recite disturbing phrases that appear on the walls. When Dylan presses a button to unlock a chest, the lights flicker, and a chilling recording plays, a distorted scream. They find a blood-stained letter inside the chest, warning, "They're watching. You can't leave." The timer on the wall, which initially showed 2 hours, suddenly resets to 3. Confused, they check their phones, only to realize they've been inside for nearly 4 hours already. Mia begins to panic, claiming she remembers solving puzzles they haven't even encountered yet. Claire tries to calm her down, but the group is clearly unraveling. When the group enters the next room, they find it empty except for an old television. The screen flickers to life, displaying live footage of the escape room. The video shows them, but with one horrific twist. Dylan isn't there. Yet, Dylan is clearly standing in the room. Before anyone can react, the lights go out, and when they come back on, Dylan is gone. Desperate, the remaining 4 retrace their steps, shouting for Dylan. Instead, they find an open hatch in the floor, leading to a dark tunnel. Sarah hesitates but climbs down first. The tunnel leads to a hidden surveillance room filled with monitors. Each screen shows footage of past escape room participants. Some are alive, others look catatonic, and some are clearly dead. On one screen, they see themselves from earlier, but the footage is warped. In the video, Claire is violently smashing a puzzle piece, Jake is scratching at the walls, and Mia is crying blood. The truth dawns on them. The vault isn't just an escape room. It's a sinister experiment. The puzzles aren't meant to be solved. They're psychological traps designed to manipulate and torment participants. They're not the first to be caught in this nightmare, and they won't be the last. As they try to leave the surveillance room, an alarm blares, and thick metal doors slam shut. The robotic voice echoes, "You're not finished yet." The story concludes with a chilling twist. Days later, the friends' families report them missing. Police find the building abandoned, but their belongings, phones, bags, even shoes, are left behind. On a USB drive recovered from the site, investigators find disturbing footage. The group walking out of the escape room, smiling eerily, and then vanishing into thin air. The last frame shows the words, "The vault watches, the vault keeps." Five strangers, Harper, Jake, Vanessa, Ryan, and Clara, arrive at a secluded mansion to participate in an escape room experience called the Nightmare Room. Each was lured by a different incentive: money, adventure, or a need to prove themselves. They are led into a dimly lit parlor by a masked host who speaks only briefly. No clues will be given. Your survival depends on each other. Escape or don't. The door locks behind them and the game begins. The group searches the room, expecting puzzles, clues, or riddles, but there's nothing. The furniture is bare, and the walls are blank. Frustration builds as they realize they don't know where to start. Vanessa discovers a locked door with no keyhole and no apparent way to open it. The others argue over what to do, but Ryan notices subtle marks on the floor, suggesting the furniture has been moved before. When they rearrange the furniture based on the markings, a hidden panel opens, leading to the next room. Relief washes over them until they step inside. The new room is a macabre dining hall with an elaborate table set for 6. However, one chair is occupied by a corpse dressed in a fine suit, blood pooling beneath him. Clara screams and Jake checks for a pulse, confirming the man is dead. A note on the table reads, "One of you did this. Prove your innocence or stay forever." Panic ensues as they accuse each other. Harper insists it must be part of the game, but Ryan points out a blood-stained knife lying near the body. None of them claim it. The group discovers another locked door, this time with a keypad requiring a 4-digit code. The only other object in the room is an old record player. Vanessa plays the record, and a haunting voice speaks, "The murderer is among you. Find their secret. Trust no one." Jake notices the corpse is holding a folded paper with cryptic numbers and a date. Harper connects the numbers to a missing person case she recalls from a news story. The victim had been part of another unsolved escape room disaster. When they input the numbers from the paper, the door opens, but unease spreads. Was the victim another player? And who killed him? The next room is a featureless box with a single light bulb overhead. The walls begin to shift, shrinking the space. Harper finds a note scratched into the wall. "Only together will you survive." Ryan suggests they form a human chain, pressing against different parts of the room to stop the movement. When they do, a hidden compartment opens, revealing a key. As they escape, the room resets and the walls expand again, as if mocking them. The group enters a room with shattered mirrors covering the walls. The fragments reflect distorted versions of themselves. One mirror shows Vanessa holding the knife from the previous room, and another shows Jake standing over the corpse. Ryan smashes one of the mirrors in anger, revealing a message scrawled behind it: "To find the truth, destroy your illusions." Breaking more mirrors reveals fragments of memories they don't recognize, but feel disturbingly real, as if they've been here before. Clara insists she saw Vanessa in one of the memories, holding a bloodied knife. Tensions rise, and trust erodes further. The next room is a stark interrogation chamber with 5 chairs. A voice booms, "Confess to your sins, or another will die." Ryan reluctantly admits to being arrested for assault in the past. Vanessa confesses to lying about her reasons for joining the game. She needs the money to pay off a dangerous debt. When it's Jake's turn, he hesitates, then admits to knowing the victim. He was the last person to see him alive before the escape room began. As they finish, the lights flicker, and Clara notices the corpse from the dining hall is now sitting in the corner, its head tilted toward Jake. The next room is a circular chamber with no doors, just a pedestal holding a blood-stained notebook. Inside, they find a log detailing how the escape room was designed to break its players, turning them against one another. The final entry reads, "The murderer will escape. The innocent will remain." Vanessa accuses Jake, who insists he's being framed. Harper finds her voice. "The real killer is playing us all. Maybe it's none of us." The group finally agrees to work together, but as they piece together the evidence, they hear the corpse's voice echo. Only one can leave. The group enters the final room, a stark white space with a single lever in the center. A timer on the wall begins counting down from 5. A voice announces, "The lever will open the door, but only one may exit. Decide now, or no one leaves." Chaos ensues as Vanessa grabs the lever, claiming she has the most to lose. Ryan pulls her away, and a struggle breaks out. Jake, bleeding from a blow to the head, shouts, "This is what they want, don't play their game." As the timer hits 0:30, Harper makes a desperate move, pulling the lever herself. Harper wakes up outside the mansion, disoriented and alone. A voice on a hidden speaker says, "Congratulations, survivor, you passed the test." She finds a note in her pocket. "You were never innocent. None of you were. The others paid the price for your freedom. Live with it." As Harper stumbles away, she notices a bloodied knife in her hand. Memories flood back. She killed the victim in the dining room before the game began, under duress from someone she can't remember. The story ends with Harper realizing she is now part of a larger, darker game, one that never truly ends. Six strangers, Ava, Liam, Sophie, Ben, Chloe, and Eric, gather at the entrance of an escape room called the Forgotten Hour. The host, a pale and unsettling man named Mr. Delacroix, explains that the escape room has a dark theme meant to push their limits. "You're solving more than puzzles," he says cryptically. As they enter the first room, the door locks behind them with a heavy clang. The intercom crackles, and a chilling voice, not Mr. Delacroix's, echoes. "Welcome, players. Will you succeed where others have failed, or will you become forgotten too?" The room is filled with faded photographs and old newspapers. A puzzle directs them to arrange the photos in chronological order, revealing a key to the next door. Sophie notices the photos depict previous escape room participants, but something is wrong. Their faces appear blurred or scratched out, and some of the photos show their group, as if they'd already been here. When they open the door to move forward, the intercom hisses again. "They tried to leave too. You'll see them soon." The next room features a large, broken clock on the wall. Pieces are scattered around the room. A note reads, "Fix time to save yourself." As they work, the room grows unnaturally cold. Suddenly, a voice whispers, "Hurry." Ava freezes, swearing the voice came from right beside her. The clock strikes midnight once completed, but the door doesn't open. Instead, a projector flickers on, showing footage of a previous group solving the same puzzle. One by one, the participants vanish on screen, screaming. Then, the video cuts to black. The third room is a mock living room with children's toys scattered around. Chloe notices a doll on the shelf that wasn't there when they entered. A riddle on the wall asks them to find the missing voice, leading them to an old gramophone. When they turn it on, they hear a child's laughter, followed by a chilling whisper, "They'll never find you." The door opens, but the doll is now in the center of the room, staring at them. Ben kicks it away, but Ava swears she hears it giggling as they leave. The next room is a dark, narrow hallway, lined with portraits. Each one bears the name of a participant who failed to escape. To their horror, they find empty frames labeled with their own names. Liam touches one of the frames, and a hidden drawer slides open, revealing a worn journal. The entries inside are frantic. "We've been here for days. There's no way out." The last page reads, "We are still here. We are watching." The intercom crackles. Do you know them? Soon you will. The group enters a room that looks like a school classroom, with desks arranged in a circle. A chalkboard reads, "To move forward, choose one to leave behind." The group argues, but suddenly the room's lights flicker and the air grows heavy. Without warning, Eric collapses. His body is unresponsive, but the intercom whispers, "He's not gone. He's with us now." The door unlocks, and they reluctantly leave Eric behind. Sophie breaks down crying as they hear faint footsteps behind them. The next room is filled with mirrors, each reflecting not just their group but shadowy figures standing behind them. Liam smashes a mirror in a panic, revealing a hidden compartment containing an audio recording. They play the tape, and a voice, strained and hollow, begins to speak. "You can't leave. He keeps us here. You'll be one of us soon." The door opens, but Sophie feels an icy hand grip her shoulder. No one is near her, but she hears a voice whisper, "Help us." The group reaches a room with a scale in the center and weights scattered around. The riddle reads, "Balance the scales with what you value most." They try using random objects, but the intercom snarls, "Wrong." Suddenly, Ben is thrown across the room by an unseen force, leaving him unconscious. Chloe screams and places her necklace, a family heirloom, on the scale. The scales balance and the door opens, but Ben is gone. The intercom speaks, "Only the worthy may move forward." The remaining four enter a grand room with a massive clock towering above them. A voice booms, "Time decides your fate. Reset it, and you may leave." They search frantically for clues, but the clock begins to chime loudly. The shadowy figures from the mirrors reappear, surrounding them. One by one, they start hearing whispers from the forgotten players. "Stay with us. There's no escape." In a desperate bid, Ava resets the clock to 12 The figures vanish, and the door creaks open. The survivors, Ava, Liam, Sophie, and Chloe, stagger out of the escape room, shaken and scarred. They find themselves in a parking lot with no sign of the warehouse or their missing friends. Days later, Ava sees a news article about the Forgotten Hour escape room reopening. The photo shows a new group of participants smiling at the entrance. Behind them, barely visible, are faint, ghostly faces of Ben, Eric, and others who never escaped. The final scene cuts to a chilling whisper, "We are always watching." A new escape room called Eternal Time opens in a quiet town, boasting that no team has yet completed its fiendishly difficult challenges. Drawn by the hype and free passes, 6 strangers, Emma, Lucas, Nina, Jared, Ellie, and Chris, arrive to test their wits. The owner, an enigmatic man named Mr. Cartwright, greets them. With piercing eyes and an unsettling smile, he promises them an unforgettable experience. The group enters the room, but something feels off. The walls are covered in strange clocks, all stuck at 3:33, their hands motionless. The room's only rule echoes over a speaker: "Solve the puzzles before time runs out. Failure is not an option." The room starts simple. Riddles scrawled on the walls and a few locked drawers. The group works together to find a key hidden in a hollowed-out clock. But as soon as they open the drawer, the lights flicker and the temperature drops. A faint ticking sound begins, growing louder and more erratic. The clock on the wall still doesn't move, yet the sense of time slipping away feels all too real. Suddenly, an eerie recording plays. "Tick-tock, your lives are on the clock." In the next room, they find mannequins posed as if mid-conversation, their faces grotesquely distorted. A note instructs them to match the mannequins to the correct positions using a map. Jared jokes about how creepy it is, but the moment the group rearranges the mannequins incorrectly, the door locks behind them and the room begins to fill with thick smoke. Chris panics, trying random solutions, but Nina notices a faint clue etched into a mirror. They solve the puzzle just in time, the door unlocking as the smoke dissipates. From the speaker, Mr. Cartwright's voice taunts, "Careful, the clocks may not move, but your time does." The third room is more disturbing. It contains a single large clock in the center, its glass face cracked, with a hammer lying beside it. The room's clue says, "To move forward, break what binds you." Lucas swings the hammer at the clock, but instead of the door opening, a deafening alarm sounds. The floor beneath them shifts, revealing spikes slowly rising. Emma spots another clue in the gears of the clock and screams for everyone to stop. Working together, They disable the mechanism just before the spikes reach their feet. The group is rattled, but there's no time to recover. A chilling whisper plays over the speaker. You can't escape time. It catches everyone. As they enter the next room, they notice an old photo hanging on the wall. It's Mr. Cartwright, younger and smiling, standing in front of what appears to be a factory. Lucas recognizes the building. It was a watchmaking factory that closed after a horrific fire years ago. Rumors had spread about workers being trapped inside. Why would he hang this here? Ellie asks, her voice trembling. As they try to decipher the room's puzzle, Cartwright's voice booms. You think this is a game? I've been trapped too. Now it's your turn. In the next room, the clocks suddenly spring to life, their ticking echoing unnervingly loud. But something is wrong. The clocks don't move in unison. Instead, they speed up, slow down, and stop randomly. Jared screams, clutching his head, claiming the ticking is inside his skull. The group solves a complicated word puzzle on the walls, only to realize too late that the room is shrinking. They barely crawl through an opening into the next room as the walls close in completely. Behind them, Jared screams stop. The group emerges into a room filled with shattered clocks and charred furniture. Emma pieces together Cartwright's story. He was the lead designer for the watchmaking factory, blamed for the fire that killed dozens of workers, and cast out by society. Suddenly, the speaker crackles. Time didn't forgive me, and it won't forgive you. Every second you've wasted, every moment you took for granted, it all ends here. The second-to-last room contains 6 chairs, each equipped with straps and wires. A note reads, "To stop time, you must sacrifice your own." The group argues about what it means, tensions flaring. Nina decides to sit in one of the chairs, despite Chris's protests. When she straps in, a countdown begins, and Nina screams as the wires spark. She slumps over as the door opens, leaving the others horrified. Emma whispers she gave up her time, her life, for us. The final room is eerily empty, with only a massive grandfather clock and a small desk with an envelope. Inside the envelope is a note. Time's up. Choose one to walk away, the rest stay forever. The group is torn, arguing and accusing one another of selfishness. Suddenly, Cartwright's voice interrupts. Your indecision is your demise. The clock strikes 12, and the floor beneath them collapses. Each person lands in separate chambers, their screams echoing before silence falls. Days later, police find the building, abandoned and devoid of life. No trace of the group is discovered, except for an old clock on the floor, its hands now moving backward. A news article is left pinned to the clock, detailing Mr. Cartwright's death in the fire years ago. As the camera pans out, a faint ticking grows louder, hinting that the puzzle master's revenge is far from over.